What's up, guys? Today we are in the kitchen and we're going to talk about the invention of the subwoofer, where it came from, how we have got to enjoy the wonderful embrace of maximum thunder from down under. And it all started back in the very beginning of recorded music. Since in the very beginning, what we had to work with was records. And when I say records, that's technically a slang term. I mean vinyl records, or a vinyl record of an audio experience. Same way a piece of paper is a record of a written experience, vinyl record is a vinyl record of an audio impression. Okay? Well, vinyl was the thing, although magnetic media has been around forever. Vinyl was the thing for being able to sell and easy to reproduce, easy to sell, easy for consumers to use. So it was the number one and mostly the only real media out there for holding sound for a very long time. And although vinyl is really good in a lot of ways, it does have limitations. One of those limitations is low frequency reproduction. Most music at the time, or most music up until the mid 1960s, was recorded with a higher range of sound. In other words, what I'm trying to say is, very badly, is there wasn't any real bass. The bass tended to drop off about 100 hertz. Below that, you didn't really hear much below 100 hertz. And the reason is it couldn't be recorded on a record. The record had a limitation, a strong, hard mechanical limitation. And low bass frequencies just couldn't be reproduced. You see, the way they cut a record back in the day is you would sing or play into the equipment, and it would send a signal into a big machine. That machine would literally cut that record into a disc and record what you were doing on the spot, straight from the microphone to the hard media. Then they would use that to produce a master mold, which is what they would use to stamp out records. So there was no in-between. If you messed it up, it was messed up on the record. You had to start over again. Very expensive, very time-consuming. So most of the time, if the artist went in there and they did a recording, it was a one-shot deal. They got it all cut under the record, and they hoped that they got it right, and Bob's your uncle. Well, again, the record had some drawbacks, one of which you couldn't put really low frequencies on. So since the record couldn't hold a low frequency, when I say low, I mean anything below like 60 hertz or 70 hertz or somewhere down that range, artists didn't record music with those frequencies because the medium that they were using to sell to the public and to reproduce it couldn't hold it. There was also no audio equipment out there that could really reproduce it either. So your basic woofer, which is something that plays down to 60 or 70 hertz, could handle all the information that was on any media that you're wanting to play. There was no need for a subwoofer because there was nothing that would make a subwoofer necessary, right? Well, in 1964, Leo Fender, yeah, the same guy that the Fender guitar guy, that guy, decided that we needed low frequencies. This was also about the same time that the 8-track tape and even the earliest versions of cassette tapes were being made mainstream. In other words, we figured out how to make it economically viable to produce magnetic media for the masses. At that time, we go, hey, now we can play low frequencies. We need a subwoofer to be able to reproduce them. And even to be able to play them. You know, you need something that can play really low to get those low bass notes and those low drums and all that stuff to come through the music. Well, that's where Leo Fender decided to create a little enclosure called, what was it, the Bass Fender, I believe. And that first year or so was the subwoofer. It was it. And it was a vented enclosure. In fact, the sealed enclosures came along many years later. The vented enclosure was the very first subwoofer enclosure. Now, during the mid to late 1960s, the subwoofer became more integral to home audio environments, mainly because of the surround sound system, which was becoming really big, and people were using that to increase enhance their movie experience, watching movies at home and listening to music with this thunderous bass underneath it. It also became really big in the theaters because there was movies like Earthquake was one. And if you want to look that up, just Google the movie Earthquake, look for something made in the 1960s, late 60s, in that era. You'll find the movie, and it was really one of the very first movies that utilized full functionality of a subwoofer. It was one of the reasons they put it into theaters, was to get that sound into the theater so people could experience that physical vibration and impact from that soundtrack. And it wasn't until many years later that the subwoofer made it into a car. And I mean, well, let's see. I would say, yeah, it was. I believe it was about the same time that Kicker introduced the ass kicker. It was actually Stillwater Designs introduced the ass kicker. Was the first real subwoofer in a car situation, or about the same time. So that was mid 80s that the subwoofer made it into a vehicle. Pretty sure about those dates. Now, prior to that, people were taking musical instrument speakers and putting them in cars to get that bottom end, which is where the manufacturers, again, I talked about the history of car audio and how car audio enthusiasts like ourselves were the first ones to do the thing. And then the manufacturers had to catch up with us and go, hey, they like this, so we'll just do this. The funny thing is, even though now the manufacturers do this, we go, hey, the way you do this sucks. So we're going to take all that out and put our stuff in anyway. It's hilarious. But yeah, prior to 1964 or 65, there wasn't hardly any media out there that had any information below about 100 hertz. And I know you guys are thinking about the song Another One Bites the Dust. Prime example. And just to tell you, your cell phone, your smartphone, is only capable of playing about 100 hertz and up. So when you listen to Another One Bites the Dust on your smartphone, you're hearing all the bass notes from the song. It's all 100 hertz and higher. So yeah, one of the most famous bass lines in history doesn't require a subwoofer to play. And that's the case for all the information before the 1960s. There just wasn't anything that could reproduce it. There wasn't any way to record it. There wasn't any need to reproduce it. So nobody played frequencies that low. Crazy, right? Anyway, I hope this has been an interesting trip down subwoofer lane. And if you guys found this information enjoyable, please be sure and hit the like button, subscribe, and comment, because comments are important. You guys know that I read the comments. You know that I respond to the comments. And it helps our community and it helps my channel. So be sure and drop me some good loving down there. And I hope you guys enjoyed my little guitar video that I put up here a little while ago. And it's just something I felt like doing. I'm working on a couple of songs, you know, and I just said, hey, you know what? I'm going to share this with my YouTube community. And it's just an honest attempt at a song. So peace out, guys.